And now, direct from the International Blind Cafe, welcome to The Cauldron.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm gonna have to tell the grandkids that joke. That's adorable. That is adorable. Hey, you know what? Speaking of grandkids, I'm really excited. Well, I'm always excited when they come visit us in the summer. However, I'm especially excited this year because my local regional library has now has accessible toys and games as part of their catalog. So things like Monopoly and Scrabble and Uno and all those kinds of games, whether they're large print, braille, or tactile, but basketballs with bells in them and footballs and soccer balls and frisbees but that beep. And I mean, it's just honestly, I mean, I know we say this all the time, there's no better time to be blind with all the accessibility that is coming out. And it got me to thinking the difference but still the continued struggles of being a parent or a grandparent with sight loss.
It is difficult, yes.
Well, I, for one, wouldn't know much about parenting. The only experience I have is that baby doll you get in high school that you have to take care of. And all that taught me was how to shower really fast. But
that's a good skill.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah, that is a good skill. But no, it's just, I mean, I was fortunate that I still had, very good sight left when the eldest two were younger. And then it definitely made more of an impact with when the youngest one was young. But still I had some sight. I just can't imagine not the struggle, because it's not a struggle, but the adaptations that are needed to be a parent with someone that's completely blind. Yeah. But what do you think, Elizabeth? What did you find was a struggle with sight loss?
I find, parenting is hard, vision or no vision to start with. Yes. But adding the no vision in there really gives you a wicked twist. My kids were, I think by the time I lost most of my vision, my kids were 14 and 16. So I was still able to function quite normally and get them to school and drive them to school and go to activities up until they were into almost high school. Yes. So, but after that, I mean, by that age, they are a bit more independent. My parents were awesome. They sold the family homestead and moved close to us. And they helped out shuttling kids around when I couldn't and took me to my million doctor's appointments. And my dad, picked my daughter up from high school, like the whole time she was in high school. So they were amazing and supportive. But I think really kids in general, I think they really adapt well. Like I bet they probably even forget that I can't see most of the time.
For sure. Right. Yeah, for sure. My stepkids are like that.
Yeah. I'll say to them, do you tell so-and-so, one of your friends, that I can't see? And they're like, oh no, I forget. And but I mean, that's a compliment, but kids just go with the flow. Like they, I hope, and I think kids are naturally accepting of disabilities. If it's in the family, they just you're normal. So,
We had a really interesting conversation in one of the rooms recently, and it was something I had never thought of. Um, if you know that you have sight loss, a genetic disease, sorry, that causes your sight loss, and you've lived that life from a child of someone with sight loss, how that affects your decision as to whether you even want to be a parent in the first place. And I'd never thought of it from that point of view either, because I was never in that situation. I had already had 2 kids when I found out I had this eye disease.
yeah,
And I
that's
did
good.
live as a child with somebody with sight loss. Even though I had it, it was never discovered, kind of thing. But
Right.
does that, I mean, did that affect, did you knew before you had the children, Elizabeth, or after?
No, after. My
Yeah.
son was 3 and my daughter was 1 when
Yeah,
I
okay.
started to battle the eye disease. But like I say, it was, 13 years later when
Yeah,
I lost most of my vision. So
yeah.
they actually went the journey with me. They
Yes. Yeah.
learned, and as my vision got a little bit worse, I would pick out the brightest colors that they could wear so I could spot them on the playground.
Yeah.
My son,
Yeah.
my son, I would buy him orange T-shirts. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, there he is.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, when they get to be teenagers, that you can't do that.
All different. Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah.
sorry, Stephanie, what about you? Did that ever, I know you have stepsons.
Yes,
Did
I do.
did your eye disease ever have any effect on your thought of being a parent?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Technically, just wrong time. It just wasn't with the right individual. And secondly, it was always in the back of my head. What if it gets worse, or if the person that I'm with it isn't a work, we're not going to work together well, and God forbid if something would happen, could I rise to that occasion and be able, I didn't drive, I never did. So this kid would have to take a bus all the time if I was the one taking the child to school and what have you. And it just, as I got older, it just wasn't in my scope until I met my husband, and my stepsons were 7 and 9, and I still had some vision. And like, oh, you said,
Okay.
Elizabeth, children are acceptable for who you are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
It,
for
it was
sure.
like, oh, you can't see that well. That's okay. But we still did like crafts together, and we baked cookies, and they would help me. And they're amazing now. They're very protective, when we're out. They've grown up, like you said, they've adapted with me in the situation, so they're lovely young men now,
Mhm.
and they're great, and they have such compassion. I think because of me with other people and looking at
Yes.
like
Yeah.
somebody's disability, they're lovely. They really are.
I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. I think my children are very more
Empathetic.
Yeah,
empathetic,
self-aware to other people.
self-aware,
Mhm.
cognizant of being accessible in things they do, whether it be at work or play.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I wondered if you had, and 7 and 9, like that's still becoming a parent at that
Yeah, they
age,
were
you
young.
know,
Yeah,
that
they were
age.
young. We
So I mean, it's always a
it was a learning
decision when
curve.
your partner has children, but when you're not
Hmm.
sure if it's
Hmm.
something you want to take on because of your needs, it makes it
Yeah.
even harder. Yeah.
Mhm.
And when I would be like, he'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go do here, and you stay home and you watch not that they needed watching at 7 and 9, but I was still like, okay, God forbid, what if something happens, or what if they need
Yeah.
something and I can't do it, or I don't know,
Yeah.
what if, they're little boys, and what if they, play a little boy trick on me or something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, they were always really, really good with me, so they were. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was like a little bit nervous. Yeah, because that still was pretty young. And, you know, plays like Logan was in a play, and my vision was even more diminished. It was like, it's bittersweet when you can't see the milestones. You're in it, but you're not in it. You're not
Yes.
experiencing it the
Mhm.
way, like when he made his confirmation and when he was in the play dancing on stage. And it's like, or when he just graduated from high school, I'll see him walk across the stage. I'm
Mhm.
there, but it was kind of like a bittersweet moment. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to see so bad. It was kind of like,
Yeah.
these are things
More.
that we miss out on.
Yes, for sure. Morgan, were you trying to say something there? I thought I heard your voice.
So all I was gonna say is like I agree with like Stephanie's point of like you're there but you're not there is part of why like I'm on the fence about children. Like I want them, but I'm not sure if I do. Like it would really depend on my partner. Like if they really want children, then I would be like, okay, let's have kids, you know? But I'm just undecided still a little bit because like my vision loss isn't genetic, so that's not a factor.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be able to see my baby's face, really well,
Yeah.
or watching a toddler or anything like that. Like, because they get into everything kids do, you know?
Yeah.
Everything. So it has me
Everything.
a little concerned that, like, what if I wouldn't make a good mom because I can't see what they're doing, or what if my kid gets hurt a lot more because I can't watch them as closely as someone with sight can.
But
So
I
it
think
just,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
I think that's where the adaptability, or what are the adaptations that we could see that, because I mean, we all know some amazing women that in this group that are mothers that are
Mhm.
blind,
Yeah.
that are raising children. I mean, good grief, we've got one member that has 8 children.
Wow.
Um, we have others that are single mums and raising a teenage daughter.
Mhm.
We know it's possible. We know it's possible because
Yeah.
the 3 of us have done it, and now, let's face it, we're still doing it.
Yeah.
I think it's
But
individual, for
it
everybody.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, Morgan, to your point of not seeing your baby's face, um, you can hear the
Mhm.
smile in your baby's voices, even when they're 40 years old. You can hear the smile in their voice. And imagine how much your child will thrive because you're going to be touching so much. And it's been proven that children thrive the more they're touched.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and then playpens, echo
Yeah.
saucers,
Yep.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they
Gotta love the
once they
playtime.
start crawling around, yeah, put them in a playpen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Baby
mean, we
gates, playpens. Yeah.
yeah, playpens, and there's got to be little tips and tricks that, and I remember, oh my gosh, our youngest was probably 5 or 6, maybe. So the middle one would have been 16, 17. And I was asked her not to do something. And then I walked into the kitchen and heard her start doing something else. And I yelled from the kitchen, Jerica, did we not just talk about that? And then I heard her brother Josh say to her, yeah, Jerica, just always remember the eye in the back of mum's head. That still works really fine. So you do, like, I mean, it
Yes.
was hearing that, whether I had had full sight or not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I got
I
a
know. Yeah.
story. Oh my gosh, so when the youngest was about 5 months old, my husband was home first from work, so he went and picked her up from daycare. And I got home and he said to me, you'll never guess what I did today at daycare. I said, oh gosh, what did you do? He said, well, I walked in and I went over to the crib where she was, and I'm looking at her and thinking, oh, she's so pretty, she's so cute, I love her so much. He said, I picked her up. I said, and then one of the daycare ladies said to him, Jim, are you here for Jerica? And he said, yeah. And she said, well, she's here. And she was sat
Oh
on the
no.
floor playing with toys. He
Wrong
picked the
baby.
wrong baby up. And he's got perfect 20/20 vision. So don't worry about being a parent with no
Yeah.
sight, Morgan, because the sighted ones make mistakes as well.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think the one thing I wish I had when the kids were toddlers and was a big dog, because they would clean
Yes.
up the high chair and everything the kids drop, so
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
lick them off.
Yeah. And I
Yep.
think too, because dogs are so smart, I think they realize when the baby's doing something that you
Yes.
can't see them doing, they would alert you to that.
Yeah.
I'm quite
Yeah.
confident that you could have a family pet that would do that. Yeah.
Yes. Canine
That is very
babysitter.
true.
Canine
Yeah, no, that is
babysitter,
true.
yeah.
They
Oh, and
can be
let's face it, you know,
protective and
those
everything.
if they can make cat doors open and shut now with a collar on the cat's neck.
Yeah.
They can do an invisible fence around your yard with a dog collar. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying we should put collars on our babies and what
Well,
have
no.
you, but there's got to be something you can put up when they get near something that it
Yes.
beeps at you.
I
There's
bet
got
you
to
they
be
do have
something like
something.
that. I
We
bet
just
you they
probably,
do.
yeah,
Don't know
right?
about it.
Well,
Yeah.
we should invent it. That would be,
Yeah.
another adventure. The baby
Dragon's
gate.
Den, here we come.
Yeah. Well, even, okay, teenagers, they can be sneaky in a handful even more than the little ones, you know what I
Oh
mean?
my
And
gosh. Yeah.
they think they know everything, and all of a sudden you're stupid, and it's like,
Yeah.
sometimes just being the step parent, sometimes I'm asking questions, and it's like, don't think you can ever really put anything past me. Just because I can't
No.
see it does not mean I'm not
Mm-hmm.
totally paying attention to everything that you guys are doing. Especially
Absolutely.
biggest pet peeve, out to dinner with the three boys and me. Now, put the phones away. I know you have them out. You're not fooling me, because they're like, no, we don't. Yes, you do. Because I think it's rude to be on your phone when we're out to dinner. I used to catch them every time, and I'm sure they were like, how do you do that? I'm like, I just know. I know you guys. I know when you're quiet
Yeah.
for different reasons than you're not eating your food. You guys are all on your
Yeah.
Yeah.
toes. I hate
Yeah.
that.
But I
So
think
now
like
they know
what
better.
Julie said is hearing, like your hearing comes into play as well.
Mhm.
You're always listening for
Yes.
what's going on, and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
like, how do
yeah.
you do that? I'm like, yeah, I once
We're
told them I
And
had X-ray hearing and I could hear through walls, and
well,
then
right. Yeah.
and then one day I was lecturing them about lying, and then I felt a real responsibility to fess up on that one.
that you couldn't really
And I
have, you
couldn't
didn't really
really,
have extra ears. Yeah.
X-ray hearing.
yeah,
I swear my mom
Um,
has X-ray hearing though. She can hear everything.
yeah,
I think it comes with, you deliver the baby, you deliver the placenta, and then you
yeah,
deliver this bag of all these cool superpowers that you never had before, like
yeah,
waking up in a split second when there's a different noise,
yes,
or
yeah,
like hearing what they're saying, or knowing where they're walking in the house. And oh yeah,
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
comes along with the baby, Morgan. You really do pick up on it.
yeah.
One
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that I have oh, sorry, go ahead, Morgan.
I was just say, yeah, like hearing you guys talk, telling stories is making me feel a lot more confident in my ability to do it. Because I've always wanted children, right? It's just since I lost vision that I've been kind of,
Hmm.
swinging both ways. Like I'm not super sure. But
Yeah.
hearing your stories and like how hearing can come into play and stuff like that, it's helping me
Yeah.
feel more confident.
Well, that's
You know
good.
something that as a grandparent, Morgan, that I was really thankful for when grandkids were little and I would read to them, because that is something that's really important to me, is literature. And I think you should read
Yeah.
to your children from the time they're born and get them into books. Was Be My Eyes, because I would sit in the middle of the two kids, and I'd put one of my earbuds in and had the book in front of me, and I could see the pictures, I couldn't read the text.
Mhm.
And the Be My Eyes person would read the text to me and I would repeat it, and then we'd talk about the pictures on the page, and then we'd turn the page and same thing. They'd read the text, I'd
wow.
repeat it, and that was
That's
how
amazing.
I continued to read to the grandkids.
That's
Um,
ingenious. That is
it
really
was
cool. That is
wonderful.
great.
And I know since then technology has improved so much also. Um,
But you're learning
and
Braille too, aren't you? Like
yeah,
you'll
Braille
be able to
now.
read. Yeah.
Yeah, although, this came up yesterday. I called chapters. There is a book out that's a regular story book for children. And then on top of the print, it's Braille. And I wanted to
Oh,
buy it for a memorial that's being done for a friend that passed away on Friday. Chapters, Indigo, whatever it goes under now, does not carry Braille, do not carry Braille books. They do
Oh,
not
Oh,
carry
that's
any of those children's Braille books. They have one that says, I think it's IDK Braille. But we talk about accessibility.
yeah.
Where's the
yeah. Where's the
accessibility from the corporate side to help us as parents?
Hmm.
Or when we go to a doctor's office, why aren't staff being trained to help guide someone with sight loss? It should be an automatic part of customer service training. It
Exactly.
would
very
help.
true. Yeah.
It would help us in so many areas, parents, grandparents, and especially now that we're becoming a sandwich generation as well, where we
Mhm.
are helping more with grandchildren. And we've also got our parents that are aging that we need to get to appointments and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
it's that whole. Sorry, go
what do
ahead.
you guys, I was just had a thought. So you're a grandparent one day, Elizabeth, I'm an aunt, Morgan, I'm sure you know little kids. Are people apprehensive with letting you be like the care provider, babysitter? Do you feel that they're a little nervous around you? And they don't mean to be, but do you know what I mean? Like I wish that I could babysit for my nephew. He'll be 3. They won't ask, even though my husband's fully sighted and I have 2 stepchildren. No. And they don't say things to be mean, but they're always like, "Oh, we don't go out that much," or "Oh, yeah, thanks." And then they just never ask. So I've
Yeah.
stopped asking because,
I
I
yeah.
kind of feel bad.
I
Yeah.
do have a story about that. I guess my cousin or second cousin or something like that came over with his family and they had the cutest 3-year-old daughter, Coco, but they also had a 3-month-old baby and I can't remember his name. And everyone in the room got to hold the 3-month-old baby, including my very sick, fragile 81-year-old grandmother who could, barely hold the weight of the baby. Everyone got a turn holding the baby except for me.
Ah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
That is so,
And that
yeah,
is such a gut punch, isn't it? Whether
yeah,
they
Yeah.
intended it or
or not.
not, for
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
reason they did that, that is one heck of a gut punch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
that
is.
is what sighted people don't understand. You may do something that you think you're doing it because you're being protective and you're trying to shield us. I mean, let's hope that that's why they did it, for whatever reason, Morgan. But
Hmm.
my
Yeah,
God, you absolutely, that's like,
that's wrong. That's
that
wrong.
steps
So
you
wrong.
back.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
really sets you back. I'm really sorry you had to experience that,
yeah,
Morgan.
Oh,
I
thank you.
really
And it,
am.
it it just hurt because like I did nursing and I did an L&D rotation. So like I'm good with holding babies, like even like
Yeah.
tiny newborns and stuff like NICU babies. So it hurt, but it is what it is.
I think that's something you learn as you get older, to assert yourself and say, hey, like, where's my turn?
It's kind of like, ladies, just every different experience that we go through, like now that summer's coming, there's things we want to do, places we want to go. We should talk about, I'd like to know like how you guys handle different experiences or even traveling, you know,
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
because
Going on
people
road
can
trips
enjoy
and
those
trying to
things.
find bathrooms and
Yeah.
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 Oh, my favorite subject, public bathrooms. I love talking about
Mine
public bathrooms.
too.
But no, you're right, travel and the
Yeah.
differences, like when we're in the rooms on the International Blind Cafe and we're talking to somebody in Italy or somebody in the States or Australia or
yeah.
England or whatever,
Yeah.
and the difference in
Yep.
accessibility with transportation is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
that's
good
a
things.
great subject. We definitely should talk about that
Oh,
one, Steph,
Yeah.
for sure.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you'd like to continue this conversation, we invite you to join us in the Cauldron on the International Blind Cafe Discord server and the Facebook group.